I'll do a very quick introduction about Qualitrix. We are a quality engineering and modernization company. We prefer and work primarily around technology and want to make the software quality more and more autonomous and adaptive so that we can get more speed and more efficiency out of quality engineering. Salesforce is one of our pillars and core areas where we focus, and we help work very, very intensively with Qualitia Boson in improving the overall, modernizing the quality for Salesforce. About Qualitrix, we are a 10-year-old company. We very intensely focus on IP-led quality engineering. So we have built our own assets also. One of them is O-Primes, which is a platform for data and AI validation. Second is NoGrunt, which is AI-enabled test case designing and execution. We work a lot towards scale programs, which are large-scale engagements with more than 10 million user base, including national scale programs, GCCs, Fortune 500s, and a lot of unicorn startups. And how we are able to deliver is through our own IP plus a lot of strategic partnerships. One of the most premium one out of them is with Salesforce Azure, and Qualitia is one of the key drivers for that. In terms of our industries, we are spread across multiple industries, primarily in financial services, retail consumer goods, TMT, automotive is also one of the key areas. We have very good customers there in this space, and we also work in healthcare and government sector. Yeah, I wanted to also quickly talk about two main achievements that we have recently acquired. One of them is that we got positions as a major contender in the Everest Peak Matrix. This was a significant achievement, even more so because this was the first time we were participating in this evaluation, and we were among all other companies which were almost 4 to 5 times bigger than us. The main reason for this was the way we kind of position ourselves as the quality engineering company, focus a lot more on providing value in terms of technology to deliver quality, with more efficiency and speed. The second one, which we recently got recognized, was by the Karnataka government as AI Validation and Testing Excellence Award. So we also do a lot of validation of AI product itself, and which is something that is it was acknowledged one of our programs, and we won this award for this in the summit. Yeah. Now coming down to Salesforce, we have our own automation center of excellence in Salesforce. Primarily, we focus on 3 main areas. First, how we can enable more and more technology. Second, how we can make Salesforce testing more and more reusable so that we create more standardization. We're able to bring in more and more value to the customer. And third, nothing is works without human in the loop. So very strong understanding of the domain along with Salesforce understanding. So understanding of with Salesforce consultants as well as the domain expertise. We try to marry them together to add more value. And Qualitia plays one of the most pivotal roles in it. Although we are technology flexible, we work with different tools and technologies when customers request, including open source, as well as some of the other licensed platforms. But our whole integrated ecosystem that we have built around Qualitia Boson is something which we are very proud of, because we are able to bring in a lot of value through this partnership to deliver quality with high speed for a lot of our large customers, including the GCCs. What it means is we can bring quality which can be scalable. It could be very quickly reusable, which is what I talked about, easy to maintain, and most importantly, it is very quick to learn. So with tools like Qualitia Boson, we are able to bring in a lot of experts, consultants very quickly onboarded to automation and move the whole testing life cycle faster within a very short period of time. Having said that, I also wanted to mention that we are a Salesforce consulting partner, and we are in a journey where we want to move very strongly with this partnership of Qualitia and Salesforce to take the overall testing for Salesforce much ahead, and making it more faster, smarter, and AI driven. With this, I'll hand over to my friend Rahul. Rahul is an industry veteran. He's the founder and CEO of Qualitia, and you'll love to hear him out. And I'll hand over to Rahul from here on.
Thank you very much. Very good morning. So it's Friday. I hope all of you have little peaceful time than your usual days. in a week. Mayank, thank you so much. A very dear partner, Qualitrix, very driven, very passionate about testing. So, been working together for some time and so happy to join this webinar along with all of you. So, I have a brief presentation that I will share. And as requested by Mayank and Qualitrix, we'll go a little deeper into the product demonstration also. We have been doing test automation product business for last 14 years, and we pivoted completely into Salesforce for last 3 years. And now as an organization, we are completely focused, doing a lot of innovation around Salesforce with one single agenda is to help you deliver Salesforce release as a much better version than the previous one. And while we pivoted, we actually analyzed the situation. While there were so many tools, the question was, does industry really need another solution, another technology? And as deeper we went, we realized that Salesforce is very uniquely positioned when it comes to the business side also, and its challenges from implementation side. Usually a 2-week sprint, because it moves really very fast. It's very agile. You can mold it for so many specific industry use cases. And as a result, because it moves very fast, testers get only one day. Okay. So testers' life is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, alternate week. They are super busy. And they won't be able to test everything, right? Because it's such a limited time. There is a lot of constraint. And as a result of that constraint, across all industries, across all countries where we work, and we work predominantly in US, ANZ, that is Australia, New Zealand region, as well as India region, we see that close to 45 to 50% of defects are found in pre-prod, UAT, as well as in production. Now it means a lot of rework, a lot of additional cost to customer. But I think along with, apart from all these things, the biggest impact is the delayed go-to-market. And that is the largest pain of our customer. Now everybody understand that test automation is a need, is a necessity, but then all the existing tools and technologies ultimately provide you a process where you can start with the recording, but then you land up into a lot of programming interventions. Salesforce particularly is very unique from its DOM structure, from its UI layer perspective, because there are quite a few shadow DOM objects, quite a few iframes, dynamic UI elements, and also hidden identifiers. Now that drives us crazy, because writing those XPath and CSS is like a never-ending chase, and it takes a lot of time. And last point, which is most important point, only Salesforce testing is, we believe, around 60% of job done. 40% of job is around the integrations. There are so many third-party APIs. There are so many upstream, downstream application, PDF content verification. And in many of the cases, there are mobile journeys. So it could be Salesforce mobile app, or you actually integrate your Salesforce flows with probably the homegrown mobile app that integrates with Salesforce. So there was no single technology that can help you cut across all your integration tests using one single user experience or platform. And considering all these things, we believe that we can make a difference. And we pivoted, as I said, we pivoted in 2022. And we did a lot of deliberation on the solution that is really needed. If we look at one day as a constraint, then tool needs to do a lot of heavy lifting. And this is a solution that we ultimately envisioned, where the technology help you identify all the flows so that you generate end-to-end flows just by one click. And the tool or a technology learns what has changed between 2 consecutive sprints, so that you update your entire automation in few hours rather than few weeks. That helps you up to date and run your regression in every sprint. So we do 3 things differently, friends, and we will see that in the demonstration now. First one is your ability to build automation. As I said, even though while the Salesforce journeys moves very fast and we get only one day, Boson helps you build those journeys in a day, but most importantly, help you update it also with just one click. Third most significant part, and those all of you are from automation background would appreciate it. Qualitia does the self-healing during execution. So any dynamic UI element, any shadow DOM objects, which otherwise are difficult to handle, Qualitia takes care of it completely so that there is 100% reliability on execution. So you can confidently execute it across environments, across browsers, or even operating system combinations. So as a result, this is what the ultimate dream, focus, and our value delivery for our customers. But if you look at from a QA organization perspective, we help you reduce a substantial time delays and efforts and help you achieve your goal of executing the regression with close to 80-90% of test coverage within a day. And that helps you move everything, shift everything towards left. Defects are identified earlier and even fixed earlier rather than all production level surprises. So with this, I think we can go to the demonstration and we can look at multiple use cases. But most important point that even Mayank talked about, this webinar is for you. So feel free to raise hand, feel free to ask questions. Right, there is one question that came up. How does Qualitia help reduce rework during Salesforce seasonal releases? Oh, nice question. And a very, very important question. We'll come to that. It is all about the change management, and we will particularly look at this use case as a part of change management. But yes, very important question. Majority of the scripts break. There is a lot of rework in automation whenever there is a new release from Salesforce. Friends, this is Qualitia. So right from our inception, one of the core part as a value also and as a passion also that we put it at the center is the user experience. We love simplicity. And we also believe that whatever is easy, simple, is also naturally very fast to adopt, to drive, to run. And you'll experience this throughout the demo or this webinar. So very simple structure. We have project within project. You define your different test scenarios. And within those test scenarios, you have your automated flows. The first thing that you do when you start a Salesforce project is connect Boson with your Salesforce org. And the moment you connect and the connection is established, we learn everything the way you have implemented Salesforce. And friends, we have quite a few use cases. I can talk about different use cases, and it can be as complex as the corporate loan origination system, where you have multiple users, multiple profiles, permissions, flows, record types, maker checker flows. We learn everything. So we learn it from metadata, we learn it from other information, and very intelligent engineering layer in between that actually connects all the dots and help you generate all these flows, all these CRUD operations just by establishing the connection. You also learn what are mandatory fields, what are non-mandatory fields, and we also by default learn all Salesforce APIs. So now we have everything, and we have a live instance here where we are actually going to build one end-to-end flow and even execute it for you. So in this org, we have two users, sales user and a marketing user, with, of course, different privileges, permissions, and different screens to access. So as a use case, we will log in into Salesforce, navigate to lead, and as a marketing user, we are going to create one lead. Now, those who are implementing Salesforce day in and day out would know the fact that there are quite a few events within Salesforce which works exactly the same across all force.com clouds. For example, launch the application, switch user, navigate to different Salesforce objects. So these are all default events within Qualitia. You just configure them the way you want. So we have reached to a point where we would now create a lead. Now we know that we want to create a lead as a marketing user. So We may define this as a reusable component so that we can reuse it across different test cases and scenarios in your entire project. And we know that we are connected to a particular org, and you may have multiple sales org. This is one of the very common question that we get. If you have multiple orgs integrated with each other, how easy it is. So you just select that org here. We know that it's a marketing user. And we also learn by default which Salesforce objects this marketing user would have access to. So we know that he has access to maybe 5. Here we select lead, and we also select a particular record type. Let's say we select a corporate lead, and think of any CRUD operation, and you can choose that, either create or edit or verify. It's like a read function, but you can very much verify. So you say just create and use all probably mandatory fields to create that particular operation. The moment you say generate, it will generate the entire flow for creating lead with all mandatory fields. And friends, we literally recreate that screen, every single screen within Qualitia, with all combinations of permissions, record types, everything. So if you see, and I hope Harish can collapse everything and then show us. So you have lead, and any form that you would fill up, there would be multiple subsections. We literally recreate it as it is, the way you can see it on the screen. And then within those, you can choose more fields if you want to add. For example, industry or any other, because you have chosen the mandatory fields only. You can choose all the fields if you want. And as you add, if you see it, it will get added exactly in a same sequence, the way it appears on the screen. So it is continuous learning, and so that user is thinking about the coverage more. All that technology jobs which actually takes up or eats up your unnecessary time is behind our back. So no XPath, no recording, nothing. You know the flow, and Boson is guiding you to think of all permutations and combinations. Okay, so we'll just update this, move on the flow. So we have created the lead. Now only sales user has certain permissions. Okay, so we'll switch user, search the same record, and then edit that particular lead. Of course, you can choose to create a new component so that you can reuse it. And here, instead of marketing user, we would just select sales user, and we will select edit instead of create. Choose all mandatory fields again before we generate it. Perfect. So if you see, one important point, on the next to the task name, there is a cloud mark. So if you click on that, it will keep guiding you how you are actually moving in your flow. Where are you? Which profile that you are using it. So there is a very good question here. We use roles and permissions instead of probably personas, or roles and permissions instead of profiles. Is it supported? Yes, very much supported, because there is a major shift now in last 1 year's time, where instead of profiles, everybody is actually relying on the permissions, and we very much support that too, because that is a guidance for us to look at the impact of change across different navigations or flows, as well as the screens. So we support that, and we'll come to more screens of that while change management. But yeah, good, you brought it up. Very good question. Does Qualitia support the Salesforce mobile app? Yes, we do support Salesforce mobile app, and I have intent to actually show you one of the flow that cut across Salesforce UI as well as mobile if the time permits. Yes, so we are we are going next to the flow. We have created the lead, and now we will create the opportunity. Yeah. So now if you compare it with any other way of doing automation, first thing, there is lot of Salesforce learning that is required, because user otherwise would not know that based on either roles profiles or roles and permissions and profiles and then record types, how many flows that you need to cut across. That happens only with KT or some probably early failures. In case of Boson shows you everything exactly the way you have implemented Salesforce. Second thing, there is no XPath CSS that you need to write. This is all behind our back. So that gives you an assurity that it will not fail. Around 60% of scripts fail in Salesforce environment because of the dynamic UI layer of Salesforce. And that much of rework that is required. So that is also avoided completely. You are moving in faster. And if you're observing, as we are building the flow, Qualitia is actually generating the test data explorer behind the screen, so that every row becomes your test data. And you can have hundreds or thousands of data combinations against which you can run this entire flow. Because intention is to amp up the test coverage closer to 100%. I'll give you an example. We have one of our customer who is a life insurance company, and in India, that BPM application that you implement, Salesforce is one of the is now becoming the most preferred choice of implementing it in India also. Testing that, so any policy quotation or issuance cut across 64 rules mandated by the government. And that led to 700,000 data combinations. So Qualitia could generate all those data combinations using the API mechanism that Qualitia provides. And the client could build only 7 or 8 flows, but then 700 different data combinations to really make it 100% from the testing perspective. Everything gets executed overnight in probably 8 to 9 hours with multiple VMs. And there is zero defect leakage even in pre-prod. Forget prod. And everything was done in just 4 weeks, because there is no coding, there is nothing. You're not worried about the technology hiccups. You move on pretty fast. If there is no clarity of data that is needed, or there is no defined rules, you can still add or generate these data combinations. And sometimes you may want to get it revalidated from your subject matter experts or architects. At times you can export this, becomes an Excel file. Somebody can review it and then add more data combination and simply import it back into the same flow. And that's all user need to do. Fantastic. So what is left here before I execute is adding up more data combinations and adding the validations that you want. So build the same flow with more data combination, exactly same flow, where we have added the data combinations, and there is a validation. If you see row number 23, we are validating the pop-up message whether or not the lead is created successfully. Good part about these data sets, you can even tag them. You can tag them for a particular, if it is a loan generation, a particular channel, or a positive data, negative data, a particular user-based journeys, or particular product configurations that you want to test, so that you can execute only those combinations if you want to in your daily unit tests. Okay, so we are all set. We can now execute it. And execution is the section where you can actually plan your executions well. Because in case of Salesforce, you have component level testing, you have end-to-end Salesforce journeys, and you also have the integrated flows for remaining 40% of coverage that you definitely need before you go live. So you plan things accordingly. You can create different test suites, add these combinations of test cases into test suites. most importantly, you can define the execution profile. So we know the complexity that you deal with. You have so many flows to be executed for different browsers or versions of browsers, operating system, even the mobile platform, mobile devices for Android, iPhone, etc. So you can define those combinations, and then you can run it through parallel executions on different VMs. And Qualitia will identify those configurations and then push those executions on different VMs in parallel for you to complete your executions on time. Or you can simply schedule it for execution. You may want to say that, okay, all the executions needs to start with a particular trigger maybe, or get invoked from your CI/CD pipeline as a job. So there are execution bots that we have. So you can configure them through any CI/CD tool, maybe Jenkins or Azure or any specific Salesforce DevOps tools like Copado or any other. Yeah, we are all set. Now all configurations are done. There are many configurations you can do at the project level so that you don't have to then look after it later. And we can just execute this flow, what we have built in front of you to see the result. Yeah, there are a couple of more questions. How can Qualitia help in sprint automation? Good question. So see, for you to do it in sprint, fundamentally, you need to understand the constraint that is only one day. And if you are dealing with large project, the question is how fast you can build it. And you at least need 20-25 times faster speed to deliver it in sprint. If you also want to retain a certain percentage of coverage, let's say 70-80%. Now, if you want to do that, you really need a tool or a technology that actually can do the generation for you. And also, can you update it in with the same efficiency or not is a bigger question, because there are so many changes. Even a small change in permission can actually break the entire test automation script or the suite. And we'll see that as a change management. Our whole effort, innovation revolves around the fact that you should be able to build and generate your automation within a day, that is within a sprint day, so that you keep up a very high regression coverage for every sprint without any burnouts, no weekends. Fantastic. The execution is done. At high level, we'll give you the summary. Which test automation suite, which environment did you execute it on, which test automation project, test case, etc. Of course, the browser and operating system along with the version, the execution time. But most importantly, we help you bucket it into 4 different categories. Something is green, that means it's all passed. Something is failed because of technology reasons. Many times the third-party API is not working or a file is not found. All these failures are shown as a technology failures, and any failure against your potential validation, the checks that you add, is shown as a defect. And something not executed because of error handling flags is grayed out. But this is just a high-level summary. We go a little deeper, literally at this step level, help you understand how much time did that step take to execute, and capture all the relevant information around that step level execution. For example, what was the test data and what was the application status at that moment of time, and all the logs, so that going through a report is as good as the debugging experience. We don't want you to debug more on your scripts to fix the issues before it get executed, but certainly spend good amount of time and create that bandwidth to analyze reports. So we collate data very well and even analyze these data to create dashboards for you. So there are basic questions that we all need to answer is, how is the health status, right? How is application quality index? Is it going down? Is it going up over the last sprint executions? Where are the issues? If it is about different browsers, which browsers there are more issues? Which are the defects which are actually getting repeated on a particular environment. If it is mobile journeys, are there issues specific to mobile journeys? So all those dashboards are created so that you can drill down from these dashboards and actually go to the report again at step level. And then, of course, with all the data, you can recreate it faster. Also, you can actually fix it faster. Okay, we'll go to the most important point of change management now. See, even spending almost 14 years building technologies, we always found that the biggest struggle is not building the test automation. And you have 36 choices. The problem is the maintenance of the script. And that exactly is what we are focusing on to solve. And to simulate that experience, we will actually make the changes in a live environment. So we'll add one field, we will delete one field, and we'll also update one field. Usually the changes are of 3 categories. And imagine if there are 10, 15 developers working for 9 days out of 10 days of a sprint, there are so many changes. So we are in lead as an object, and we're looking at LinkedIn profile as the field. Okay, we have updated to the social profile.
Yeah.
We'll now go to another UI element.
We're creating a new one.
Okay. Adding a new field again in a lead as an object.
Getting a field from opportunity is discount percent.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Great. Now just imagine our usual world of test automation. Let's say there is a new sprint. The first thing that we do is execute what we have. There'll be failures. If it is a large test suite, a complex project, we need at least 2 days or 3 days to analyze those reports. And after that, we realize that there are so many changes which we could not probably grasp or relate it to the test cases properly. And then we seek information and try to update all the scripts, which usually take 8 to 10 days. But the challenge here, friends, is we lost that sprint, we lost the next sprint, and then eventually that gap increases so much that even though we have test automation, our test coverage actually is limited to probably 8 to 10%. And that's all about it. And then we again rely on manual testers and the same vicious circle, same defect leakage. In case of Boson, you just click one button. Just imagine this is the moment you got a new sprint in your QA environment or UAT environment. You just had to click one button, and that is sync. And we will identify all the changes and the entire hierarchy of that change. Okay, so we know that across different record types or Salesforce objects, there are changes. So if it is updated, it will be shown as U, that is updated. Something new is N, and if it is deleted, it's shown as D. So let's click on any of the change. The moment you click on that, the first thing that we do is bring up what is the change and where exactly it is. Okay, so we'll tell you that the changes across different profiles as well as the different permission sets. Then we'll tell you how many test cases are impacted. So one of our biggest challenges, we don't know if there is a change, how many test scripts are to be updated. And it's always a trial and error method. We'll bucket all of them so that you can execute all of them the moment you accept or reject the changes. So if you click on that, we'll also bring up the test case and also highlight that step where there is a change. If you see here, it's a LinkedIn profile. Now, if there are many changes, you don't even know what has changed. So if you go to the changes section, we'll also help our test engineers to understand what has changed so that they can actually apply their mind, if required, related to the requirement changes, and then make a decision whether to accept or reject that change. Here, in the interest of time, we will accept all the changes, but you can also view and check at task level what are the changes, or at test case level what are the changes. For example, there are different reusable components. So if you click, let's say, on create opportunity, it will also tell you in how many test cases that particular component is used. So the change management and impact of change is shown in a multiple ways so that the users are more intelligent to take those decisions. And I think this is the true value that AI can add in helping our automation testing community to be more intelligent and take more decisions than writing those experts and CSS. Yeah, we, in the interest of time, will just accept all these changes. And that very moment, your test automation suite is updated. Imagine, friends, those 2-3 weeks of intense and really very hard effort, right? We don't even have information at times, is now limited to couple of hours where you are the owner of all the data. You have all the information on your fingertips to make those decisions, and you're not asking anybody. You are not justifying why something is a defect or not a defect. And that is the power. That empowerment is what Boson is actually bringing on the table. Of course, if you compare this against the time delays and the effort, Boson is observed by our customer on an average 22 to 30 times faster vis-a-vis what they were trying to do. And that is the empowerment to build and maintain a very high regression testing within a sprint. We have Selenium scripts. Can we migrate them to Boson? Yes. That is another possibility that is brought in by AI. And we have been doing this for quite a few customers that we have in India as well as in the US, where there were earlier efforts using Selenium, and we are helping them migrate everything to Boson so that there is all the efforts that were gone in earlier are well protected. Well, this is the high level summary of the Boson and the power it brings. Yeah, we can quickly now look at APIs. So as I said, while we learn all UI journeys, we also learn all APIs. And you can have as a combination of flow, where flow may start with API and then you go to Salesforce UI or other way around also. So here we are actually using the Salesforce API, that is create account, and generating an account first and then validating it later on the UI. Yes, over to you, Harish. You can.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rahul. Yeah. So here, to leverage Salesforce APIs, we are using the same connection what we have created in Qualitia Boson at the beginning. So here, the UI is very much clean and simple, so that everyone can understand and perform all the CRUD operations. So here we have a Salesforce connection is selected, and we can select the object, Salesforce object, what we have already imported with to interact and to create and to orchestrate the API test. Let's say I'm selecting account. We have the operations which we can perform using the APIs. Let's say there are 4 basic operations. What we usually perform is that create, update, and view and delete using an API. Right now we will be creating an account using Salesforce account API. The next part what we have in Qualitia is that we can define our data set. So the the fields which we are bringing from the connection and from the metadata, we are very much simply able to add and define our test data set for the API. Let's say I have already added three fields which are required as a mandatory field to create an account. So if there is a need particularly to create an account with specific field or the data, we can select anytime and we can add it. So, and we can define the data which can be parameterized, which can come from some Excel file, or which can be defined from the Qualitia test data. We can definitely do that. And we can define multiple data sets, so that if there is a need of any particular account, it needs to be created with some particular set of data which we can define. We can define that in that also into the API. And the next part is validation rules. So only defining and executing is not the part. We also need to validate what that API response is giving us. So here in Qualitia Salesforce APIs, we can define those validations, what kind of validations it should be. So let me quickly define a validation set here. I'll leave it as a test. And we have a rule type where you can define what kind of validation do you want. Let's say if you want to validate only the status code, if you want to validate the response time, what are the properties of the response body, we can store the response, the fields which are present into the response in the form of JSON. We can add headers, we can add many other things which are very much needed to create a validation. So I have already added a validation which is validating the status code as 201. That is a validation.
I have a quick point here. So this is a classical functional test, and it's not that easy to really find out the real cause of the defect. So whether or not we are getting the right value through API, and if we are getting the right value, is value getting displayed correctly on the UI? And there are so many such test cases. Correct. All these functional complexities that we have are so easy to build it. So as I said, we created the account here, and now we would validate it on the UI. So we can even probably quickly run this test flow.
Yes. Let me execute this test case.
Yes.
So the API execution is done. We are now logging into our Salesforce instance. Once we are logged in, we are going to search the same account which has been created using API, and we are going to validate few fields which we have configured into our API.
Even if you observe, the speed of execution is far better than any other tool because of such a deep integration with Salesforce.
Okay, so execution is done. I'll quickly navigate to our API. In the logs, you will get what was your response body, request body, and what is your response. So it has given us the success message, and we're storing the ID of that particular account. And in the validation sets, you will see that it has correctly validated the status, that is 201.
Excellent.
And on the UI, we are verifying the fields which you have filled against type and industry. You will see for type, it has successfully actual values technology and expected technology partner, expected values technology partner. Same goes for industry.
Thank you so much, Krish. So yeah, we can just go on and help you really solve the problems that you have and show you everything here. But I think we are towards the end.
Yes, so we will note down all the questions and we will respond as a part of the group, plus also plan a follow-up discussions with individually people that are interested in knowing more about things.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for joining the session. I hope it has been useful and hope you got a clearer view about the Salesforce testing automation. Also, we'll definitely get back to you with your queries and deep dive into much better discussions, and hoping we can give you more clarity through that. Thank you everybody for taking time out on a Friday and joining this session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, Mayank.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a nice
Ruta. Thank you, everyone.